Alright, hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the YouTube channel Etiski2, and this is another episode of An Indie Dev Plays, and today we're going to be playing the game Cube. So why don't I go to Sector Select and select the first sector so you guys can kind of see how this game opens up and get an idea of how this game works. So one thing that I want to say before I really start getting into the nitty-gritty of this game is that usually on this YouTube channel I like to play games that are made by very indie people, and more along the lines of hobbyist game designers, like people who have just made their first or second or third game, or just people that like us smaller game developers and hobbyist game developers can really relate to and learn from. Usually I try to avoid these big popular games that I'm sure there's already a million Let's Plays of. But I downloaded this game just to play it. It was on sale on Steam in the indie section, and I thought it looked interesting, and I started playing it and found out that it was even more interesting, and I decided to Google search the developers of this game and try to find out a little bit more about their backstory, and it turns out that their backstory is really interesting. So this game was made by 3 students, or at the very beginning they were students, now they are graduated, or they have graduated from university, but they go by the names of Daniel De Rocha, Jonathan Savory, and Dave Hall. One thing I want to say really quickly is if you are one of those 3 guys and you are one of the developers of this game, I would love to do an interview with you if you guys would be up for doing that. I've already done 2 developer interviews on this YouTube channel, and I think the Toxic Games, or anybody from Toxic Games, even if it's just one of you guys, I think that would make a super awesome, interesting episode, and I bet any one of you guys have got to have a lot of really cool knowledge that would be worth sharing with the viewers, and I think that would be super awesome. So if you happen to want to do that, or you're not too busy to do that, I know indie game developers and game developers in general are really busy people, and also people with very popular games tend to be very busy, so I assume that you are all the 3 of you are all very busy people, but if you are able to do it, I would love you forever, and that would be awesome, and I think that would be an awesome addition to my YouTube channel. But anyways, let's actually get back to this game and talk more about it. So as you can see, I've been playing it for a while, and the only model that we've seen so far that isn't a cube, or a cube with rounded edges, is the gloves that you see. Actually can't, there, now you can see them. So the gloves are a very high quality model, and I think that is super awesome. They have like really high textures. It's very well textured gloves. They're very unique and have a lot of character to them. So you can tell that a lot of time has been spent on these gloves, or I assume really only one of the gloves, and then you just duplicate the other glove and mirror it for the left or right hand or whatever. So if you really think about it, there has only, so far we have only seen one model, and it has been copy and pasted to the other hand. But anyways, so I thought that was really unique and efficient, and actually resulted in a really cool atmosphere. And just the combination of the really good looking gloves and the plain cubes. Well, the cubes do also look good because they all have rounded edges, and it looks like they have dynamic occlusion calling, or not occlusion calling, ambient occlusion. They have dynamic ambient occlusion. I believe that's just something that's a part of the Unreal Engine. So this game was made with UDK, or the Unreal Engine. Let's see, what else is there to say about this game? It was a final year project for school that these 3 guys made, and it was so successful, I guess, within their school and probably on the internet too, and they got a lot of really good feedback, and then they thought, let's actually turn this into a full-on game, and that is what they did. So if you go to their YouTube channel, I don't know what is it. I'll put the link in the description. If you go to their YouTube channel and you go to like one of their very first videos, you can see the prototype of this game. I believe it was probably while they were still in school, and it looks mostly the way the game looks now, except with not as good of looking of gloves. Actually, they're pretty bad looking gloves. These gloves look amazing and are beautifully modeled. So yeah, those are the only, that's like, the gloves are really the only major difference for that video back then. So why don't I go ahead and go back to the main menu and go to a later level so that you can really see the artwork that is created in this game. And not a whole lot of it is modeling. I mean, there are some models in here that aren't just regular cubes anymore. Most of them, as you can see, are just broken cubes. Which still look good. They're very simplistic. And then you see those wires, which I know those wires were not made by the game designers. Those wires come with the Unreal Engine, which actually I think is really cool because it's a model that is available to everyone in the world or anybody who downloads the Unreal Engine. And I believe that they are like free licensed or something like that, so that you can use them in your paid game. Like, they're just a part of the Unreal Engine. And I thought it was really cool the way they use these wires to really try to change up the look of this level. So as you can see, this room, just like, look how much character is to it, and the way things are falling apart, and just the unevenness. You can go back here and you can kind of see where you came from, and like all these wires, and like you just start feeling like this is like some big machinery place, and like it's just really interesting the way they started to really build up and change this environment and take it from like, oh, just cubes, to like this very atmospheric environment that's really cool. So yeah, let's see, what else is there to say about this game? Oh, one of the most interesting things that I read about this game is that, so they have three developers, but not a single one of them is a programmer. So the 3 core game developers for this game are not programmers. They're all artists. So, or I don't know if you would call them artists, or whether they're level designers, or, you know, just whatever title you want to give them. But there's no programmers on this, and you might be thinking, how in the hell did they create an entire game without a programmer? And this game's really unique. It's not even like they just went on RPG Maker and made a standard 2D RPG or something like that, or used an engine, or like created like a regular first-person shooter. Like, this is actually a very unique game. Very similar to Portal 2, I will admit, or I mean Portal in general is obviously inspired by Portal. But, I mean, it's not like a copy of Portal, and it's not like Portal just has... Well, I guess maybe you can modify the Portal engine. I'm not really... Because I guess it's just the source engine. But, and anyway, it was, I'm sidetracking. So, there's no programmers for this game. And you might be thinking, how do they do that? Well, they made this game in the Unreal Engine. And if you're familiar with the Unreal Engine, one of the coolest tools inside of the Unreal Engine is the Kismet system. So Kismet is basically a visual scripting tool. For those of you who are more familiar with Unity, I believe the equivalent to Kismet when it comes to Unity is something called Uscript. It's just a visual scripting tool, but Unreal comes with Kismet, and Kismet is really good for controlling triggers and animations, and timers, and simple events. And I guess you can make Kismet do some complicated things, which, as you can see, they obviously did in this game. But the majority of this game was created using Kismet, and I'm actually trying to remember how to solve this puzzle. How do I solve this puzzle? Oh, here we go. I do that. Or that. There we go. Where? Oh, I see. There we go. I'm controlling that thing and moving that thing around. So anyways, yeah, this game was created entirely from Kismet, and they did hire in a programmer that goes by the name of James Tan. He helped them with their menus and with let's see, I gotta move this block up, I think, and the saving system, and getting the gloves working in the game. But besides that, everything was done in Kismet, which is just so unique and interesting. But yeah, like, I just think that's so creative. And like, you know, I used to think of Kismet as kind of just like a placeholder for programmers. Like, if an artist wants to set up some level design, and like the artist just wants to make it so that you can, let's say, just like press a button, or maybe like press a button and start a timer for an explosion to happen, and then later on an actual programmer would come in and tried to do it even better, but Kismet was just like a placeholder. Whereas these people built an entire game off of Kismet. So, I mean, that's just such a creative solution to creating an entire game, and I find that really admirable. And I mean, just like they didn't have a programmer. Like, you'd think that you can't create a game without a programmer, but these guys did. And I think that's really admirable, and they were really able to change up the game. And I mean, when I say change up the game, I mean the game of game design and game development. They're really able to like change it up and like really like do something different. And I'm guessing this game probably doesn't receive quite the amount of recognition for the reasons that I think that it really deserves recognition. Like, I know this game got recognition just because it's a really cool game, but I think the really coolest thing about this game is just the way that this game was designed and what went into making this game and all of that. And yeah, I just think it's a really cool success story. What are some of the other things that I found that were interesting about this game? So after they were in school, they decided to develop this into a full game. And they actually got backed by the Indie Fund, which is basically like, I think the Indie Fund is actually like just 7 guys that know a lot about indie game development, and I don't know exactly everything about the Indie Fund, but I know I've heard of them before. But anyways, so there was 200 applicants at the time, and they were one of the 3 that were chosen at that particular time to actually be funded, because the Indie Fund guys thought that they were going to be really successful and create a really good game, which obviously they did. So that is really awesome, and the Indie Fund is really cool because they said in an interview that I have read that they were thinking about getting backed by a publisher, but the problem with a publisher is that usually when you get backed by a publisher, that publisher wants to own your game and like own the IP of that particular game. Whereas Indie Fund, they completely let you keep your own IP. Like, they know like you are the creator of this game, and they let you keep your own IP, and they let you have all creativity. Basically, you just have to sell to them why your game is going to be successful and just prove to them that you can create a successful game, and they will back you up and still let you have full creativity. So I think that's really cool that Indie Fund did that for these guys, and I don't think this game would have been possible without Indie Fund. I mean, maybe it would have come out, but I mean, I'm glad it came out the way it did because I really like this game. And then they got on Steam and they went to PAX Prime. I think they won a couple of other rewards. They said they flew around the world. And yeah, it's just overall, it's just a really cool success story. Can I jump down here? Guess not. But yeah, I just thought it was a really cool success story. And if you happen to be one of the developers of this game, I really want to do an interview with you on this channel. And yeah, I guess that pretty much wraps up everything that I really have to say about this game. So yeah, I guess until my next episode, I'll see you guys later, and keep making games.